Have you ever noticed how life seems to reach its most chaotic point right before everything finally makes sense? Carl Jung once said that the symbols and struggles of our unconscious rise into awareness, not to destroy us, but to guide us toward transformation. What feels like confusion, what feels like the darkest storm, is often the psyche rearranging itself, preparing for alignment. The very moments you think are breaking you are actually shaping you. And if you can hold steady, if you can endure the weight of this inner storm, you'll discover that nothing is falling apart, everything is falling into place. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, the winds pulling in every direction, the skies dark, the rain relentless. In that moment, nothing seems clear, nothing feels steady, and you wonder if you will ever see sunlight again. That is where so many find themselves right before life begins to shift. It feels chaotic, it feels uncertain, and it feels like something has gone wrong. But the truth is, this storm is not a mistake. It is the exact condition that allows order to emerge. What seems like disorder is really life rearranging itself, taking apart what no longer fits and setting the stage for something entirely new. The chaos is not a punishment, it is preparation. We must understand that what often looks like breakdown is simply the first act of breakthrough. Life, by its very nature, cannot build a stronger foundation without first disturbing the ground. Before you can live in alignment with what belongs to you, the old structures, old habits, old identities, old beliefs have to collapse. And collapse is never comfortable. It shakes you, it rattles you, it leaves you uncertain. But in that shaking, the deeper truth is revealed. You are being cleared for something larger. The chaos is not here to destroy you, but to destroy what is too small for the life you are meant to step into. Think about the moments where you felt the most lost, the most disconnected. Those were also the moments when something inside of you began to awaken. It may not have felt like awakening at the time. It may have felt like failure, like confusion, like loss. But in that very unraveling, the deeper part of you, the part that is connected to meaning and destiny, was being called forward. The storm is not a sign that you are far from alignment. The storm is the evidence that alignment is approaching. Just as the night deepens before the dawn, just as the soil must break before the seed can emerge, the chaos is the announcement of what is about to come alive. There is a pattern to this. It does not happen only once in a lifetime. It comes in cycles. Each time you are ready to expand, each time your life is about to open in a new way, there is first the stirring of disorder. Something within you resists the old ways. Something inside you refuses to stay silent, refuses to stay confined. That resistance shows up as tension, as restlessness, as sudden endings. And in that resistance, the old world begins to shake. The more you try to cling to what once was, the heavier it feels. But the moment you stop clinging and allow the storm to carry away what no longer belongs, you begin to see the outlines of something greater. The challenge is that most people interpret this stage wrongly. They think the storm means they are going backwards. They think the confusion means they are failing. They think the endings mean they are cursed. But the opposite is true. The storm means you are moving forward. The confusion means the old map is no longer relevant because a new direction is being drawn. The endings mean life is clearing out what is incompatible with your future. If you can sit in this awareness, if you can hold steady in the middle of that storm without running away, you will see that nothing is being lost. Everything is being reshaped. It is like standing before a puzzle that has been scattered across the floor. At first, it looks like a mess, a meaningless collection of broken pieces. But when you step back, when you begin to place each piece where it belongs, you realize the scattering was necessary. The picture could not have been revealed without first pulling apart what was stuck together in the wrong way. That is what chaos is. It is not the end of the picture. It is the beginning of seeing it clearly. And so, when you find yourself in these moments, you must resist the urge to panic. Panic comes from the belief that what is breaking will never be rebuilt. But if you trust the deeper rhythm, if you allow the pieces to scatter and the winds to blow, something remarkable happens. Slowly, quietly, the fragments begin to find their place. Opportunities show up where you thought there was only emptiness. Strength rises where you thought you were broken. Clarity shines where once there was only confusion. You realize the storm has not been tearing you apart. It has been tearing apart the illusions that kept you small. This is why the chaos before alignment must not be feared but embraced. You are not lost. You are being rerouted. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The storm is not against you. It is for you. And when you can accept this, when you can lean into the discomfort instead of resisting it, the storm loses its power to frighten you. You see it for what it truly is, a messenger, a signal that life is shifting, a sign that you are on the threshold of everything falling into place. Everything you are experiencing right now, every delay, every loss, every closed door, is not the universe denying you. It is the universe rearranging itself so that what belongs to you can finally find you. The storm is simply the clearing. The chaos is simply the reordering. What feels like the end is, in truth, the beginning. And when the storm quiets, when the skies clear, when you stand in the sunlight again, you will look back and see it was never chaos at all. It was the hidden order unfolding in its perfect time. There are moments in life when something small happens and yet it feels strangely significant. You glance at the clock, and it shows the exact numbers that carry meaning for you. A stranger says something in passing that answers a question you've been holding inside. A chance encounter connects you with someone who will play a major role in your next chapter. On the surface, these look like coincidences, but deep within you, you know they are not random. They are pieces of a hidden pattern, threads being woven together in ways you cannot yet see. These are not accidents. They are signals. They are confirmations that life is whispering, pointing, guiding you toward the alignment that is unfolding. So often, people ignore these moments. They shrug them off, call them luck, or dismiss them as nothing more than chance. But if you are paying attention, you begin to realize that these moments arrive most often when you are on the edge of change. They appear when the ground beneath you is shifting, when the old is falling away, and when something new is being prepared. They are reminders that you are not walking blindly through chaos. There is a rhythm here, a language spoken not with words but with signs, symbols, and connections. The more open you are, the more you notice it. The more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. Think about it. Life has a way of aligning you with the right people, at the right time, in the right place. A conversation overheard, a book you stumble across, a door that closes only to lead you to the one that was truly meant for you. These are not meaningless events. They are life itself orchestrating the unfolding of your path. The reason they strike you so deeply is because they resonate with something already stirring within you. They are external reflections of your inner state. When you are shifting, the world around you shifts to match it. When you are ready, the opportunities appear. This is why paying attention to these so-called coincidences matters so much. They are like signposts along the road, guiding you even when the journey feels uncertain. In the middle of the storm, they remind you that there is direction. In the silence, they remind you that you are heard. In the confusion, they remind you that meaning is present, even if you cannot yet grasp it fully. To dismiss them is to dismiss the very language through which life communicates with you. To honor them is to realize you are not abandoned in chaos, you are being guided through it. But there is something deeper here. These meaningful connections are not just external events, they are invitations. Invitations to trust, invitations to let go of doubt, invitations to walk forward even when the path ahead seems unclear. Each moment carries within it a whisper, you are not off course, you are exactly where you need to be. And if you follow that whisper, you begin to walk with more courage, more openness, more faith. There is also a mystery in the timing. These connections rarely arrive when you demand them. They show up when you need them most. They arrive not on your schedule, but on the rhythm of something greater. This is why patience is so important. You may think nothing is happening, that the silence means you are forgotten, but then, at the precise moment, the right person, the right word, the right event appears, shifting everything. This timing cannot be forced. It can only be trusted. The more you learn to see this, the more the fear begins to dissolve. Because you realize you are not drifting aimlessly. You are being carried. Even in the darkest hours, these connections remind you that you are not separate from the flow of life. You are part of it. You are woven into a pattern too vast for the mind to fully grasp, yet undeniable when it touches you in these ways. Some people will call this luck, but you will know it is more than that, because luck does not repeat itself with such precision. Luck does not speak to the deepest questions of your heart. Luck does not arrive in the exact moment when you are about to give up, bringing you the strength to keep moving. This is not luck. This is life aligning itself with your readiness. This is order rising from what once looked like chaos. When you begin to see these patterns, when you stop calling them accidents and start honoring them as guidance, something extraordinary happens. You no longer fear the unknown in the same way. Because even if you don't know every step, you trust that the right steps will appear. You no longer feel abandoned when doors close, because you trust that what leaves makes space for what belongs. And you no longer see life as random, but as meaningful, intentional, alive. And perhaps the greatest shift of all is this: you begin to live not with doubt, but with wonder. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this trying to show me?" Instead of resisting the unexpected, you begin to look for the message hidden within it. And with that change of perspective, the chaos itself begins to feel different. It is no longer an enemy to fight, but a messenger to listen to. So the next time life sends you one of these small but powerful signals, do not dismiss it. Pay attention. Lean in. Trust that it is not random. It is part of the unfolding, a reminder that you are being guided toward the moment when everything falls into place. There comes a moment, just before life begins to align, when what you have long avoided rises to the surface. The fears you thought you buried, the insecurities you tried to escape, the doubts you kept hidden, they all come forward. It can feel overwhelming, as if the very ground beneath you is betraying you. But this is not betrayal. This is the unveiling of what has lived in your shadow. Before everything falls into place, you must face what you have hidden from yourself. It is not punishment, it is a necessary passage. The shadow does not come forward to destroy you. It comes forward to be seen. It comes forward to be acknowledged, to be integrated, to be transformed. You cannot carry the old wounds, the old fears into the new life waiting for you. They must be faced, not so they can consume you, but so they can finally lose their power. This is why, just before breakthrough, the pressure often feels the greatest. The shadow knows that the light is near, and in that final resistance, it makes itself known. Think of the times when you have stood on the edge of change. Just as you were about to step forward, voices within you whispered that you weren't enough, that you would fail, that you were unworthy. Those voices are not the truth of who you are. They are echoes from the past, fragments of fear that grew in silence. They rise not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough now to confront them. They appear not to pull you back, but to test whether you are ready to step into the life that belongs to you. When the shadow surfaces, the instinct is often to run, to distract yourself, to numb yourself, to pretend it isn't there. But if you run from it, you also run from the light that follows. The shadow only grows darker when ignored. It is only when you turn to face it, when you hold its gaze without fear, that you realize it has no real power over you. It was never the enemy. It was the part of you waiting for your acceptance. This is why the moments before alignment are so challenging. Life is not only bringing opportunities and signs, it is also bringing mirrors. Those mirrors show you where you are still chained by old beliefs, where you are still carrying wounds that weigh you down. And though painful, those mirrors are gifts. Because once you see clearly, you can no longer be deceived. Once you know what has been hidden, you can no longer be ruled by it. The path to alignment is not about perfection. It is about wholeness. And wholeness requires that nothing is left in the dark. What rises from within you during this time, whether fear, anger, shame, or doubt, is not there to define you. It is there to be met with awareness, to be brought into the light of your consciousness, and in that light, it begins to dissolve. This is why those who are willing to face their shadow find a strength others never discover. They realize that the darkness within was never meant to be fought endlessly. It was meant to be integrated. It is like walking into a dimly lit room. At first, the shadows make the space look frightening. The shapes seem distorted, the corners threatening. But the moment you turn on the light, everything is revealed for what it truly is. The fear dissolves, and the room is no longer a place of danger, but a space you can inhabit freely. The same is true within you. When you shine the light of awareness on the fears and doubts that surface, you discover they were never as powerful as they appeared. And here lies the paradox. The very things you once thought disqualified you become the source of your greatest strength. The insecurity that made you question yourself becomes the reason you learn resilience. The fear that once held you back becomes the doorway through which you step into courage. The doubt that silenced you becomes the reason you learn to speak with conviction. The shadow was never separate from the light. It was always the path to it. So when you feel those old fears rising, when you sense the weight of doubt pressing against you, do not believe that you are falling apart. Believe instead that you are being prepared. The shadow appears not at random, but with precision, because it knows the moment of alignment is near. It is the final clearing, the last unveiling, before you step into the life that is waiting. And if you can face it, if you can stand firm, breathing through the fear, meeting the doubt with awareness, you will find yourself transformed. What once bound you will no longer hold power. What once silenced you will no longer steal your voice. And when that happens, when the shadow is met and integrated, you step into the light not half of yourself, but whole. The shadow reveals itself not to end your journey, but to open the door to the life that is about to begin. There is a tension in waiting that almost everyone struggles with. You look at your life, you see the things you want to change, the future you long for, and yet it feels as if nothing is moving. The doors remain closed, the opportunities remain distant, and the silence feels unbearable. You tell yourself that you are ready. You tell yourself that you have waited long enough, and still, there is no movement. It is in this space that many give up. They mistake waiting for abandonment, stillness for failure, silence for rejection. But what they do not see is that the waiting itself is working. Life is not idle when it is quiet. Even in the stillness, forces are at work that your eyes cannot see. Just because nothing appears to be happening on the surface does not mean nothing is happening at all. Think of the seed buried deep in the soil. For weeks, perhaps months, there is no sign of growth. To the eye, it looks like nothing is changing. But beneath the soil, the seed is splitting, expanding, rooting itself, preparing for the moment when it will finally break through the surface. The waiting was never wasted. It was necessary. Without it, the roots would never take hold, and the growth above the surface would collapse at the first resistance. The same is true in your life. What feels like delay is often protection. What feels like stagnation is often preparation. You may not yet see the full picture, but pieces are being placed into alignment beyond your view. The relationships you need are being formed. The skills you will rely on are being sharpened. The opportunities that belong to you are being set in motion. If everything arrived the moment you demanded it, you would not be ready to hold it. The waiting ensures that when it does arrive, you are not only capable of receiving it, but of sustaining it. And so the waiting is not punishment. It is the rhythm of timing. There is a season for planting, a season for nurturing, and a season for harvest. You cannot rush the harvest before the seed is ready. You cannot demand the fruit before the roots are deep. If life withholds something from you now, it is not because you are unworthy of it. It is because the timing of it has not yet ripened. To fight against this rhythm is to exhaust yourself. To surrender to it is to discover peace even in the silence. But surrender does not mean passivity. Waiting is not about sitting with empty hands. It is about preparing yourself for what is to come. In the silence, you are invited to grow inwardly. You are invited to strengthen your faith, to refine your vision, to become the person who can carry the weight of what you are asking for. The waiting stretches you. It builds patience, resilience, and trust. It strips away your dependence on outcomes and teaches you to stand in presence. And when that time of waiting comes to an end, you discover that you are no longer the same person who began the journey. You are deeper. You are stronger. You are ready. Think of how many times in your life something didn't work out when you wanted it to. You may have felt devastated at the time, but later, looking back, you could see why. The delay protected you. The closed door redirected you. The silence gave you the strength you would later need. What once felt like disappointment revealed itself to be grace. And this is the pattern again and again. What feels unbearable in the moment often reveals itself as the very thing that made everything possible. This is why the waiting must be trusted, because the silence is not empty. It is full. Full of movements unseen, full of alignments not yet visible, full of possibilities gathering themselves to meet you at the right moment. The mind hates waiting because it wants control. It wants certainty. It wants answers now. But the deeper part of you knows that waiting is not wasted. It knows that life has its own timing, and when the moment comes, it will not be late. The greatest shifts often arrive suddenly, without warning, as if overnight. But they are never truly sudden. They are the fruit of all the waiting, all the unseen preparation, all the quiet shaping of your soul in the seasons when you thought nothing was happening. This is why you must not despise the silence. You must not curse the delay. For the waiting is not holding you back. The waiting is carrying you forward. And when the moment finally comes, when the door opens, when everything begins to align, you will understand. You will see that the silence was never empty, the waiting was never wasted, and the stillness was never without purpose. It was all working, always working, to bring you here. What many fail to realize is that change does not begin outside of you. It begins within. The external shifts you long for, the opportunities, the relationships, the breakthroughs, are not random events that just appear out of nowhere. They are reflections of an inner state, mirrors of the transformation that has already begun in you. The world responds to who you are becoming. And so, when everything feels still on the outside, the real work is happening within. That is where the ground is being prepared, where the roots of change are taking hold, where the unseen adjustments are shaping the future you are about to step into. It is tempting to believe that if you could only control circumstances, force doors open, push harder, you would arrive faster. But what you do not see is that without the inner shift, the outer gains will never last. If your heart is not ready, the opportunities will slip through your hands. If your mind is still bound by old patterns, the new path will overwhelm you. Life waits for the inner alignment, because it knows that only then will the outer alignment hold. The one who is transformed within can walk through storms and remain steady, can meet challenges and not collapse, can carry blessings without being crushed by them. This is why silence and waiting are so important. They push you inward. They strip away distractions, illusions, the constant grasping for something outside yourself. They force you to turn toward the depths of your own being, to confront what has been hidden, to release what has weighed you down. And though uncomfortable, this process is sacred, because every step you take inward is a step that prepares the ground outward. Think about the times when you changed in ways you didn't even notice at first. You began to think differently, to react differently, to carry yourself with more strength, more clarity. And then, as if by coincidence, opportunities appeared, people came into your life, doors opened. But were those really coincidences, or were they responses to the person you had become? The truth is, the outer world began to shift because your inner world shifted first. This is why self-awareness is so powerful. The more deeply you know yourself, the more clearly you see what belongs to you and what does not. You stop chasing what was never meant for you. You stop forcing what does not fit. You begin to attract the people, the places, and the opportunities that match your true self. It is not magic. It is alignment. And alignment always begins within. The challenge, however, is that the inner work is invisible. No one applauds you for it. No one celebrates the nights you spent wrestling with your own doubts, the mornings you rose even when your spirit felt heavy, the discipline it took to reshape your thoughts, your habits, your beliefs. But that invisible work is what creates the visible results. Without it, the outer achievements are fragile. With it, they become unshakable. There is also a mystery here. As you shift inwardly, the world begins to mirror it back to you in ways you could not have predicted. You may notice that people treat you differently, not because they changed, but because your energy has changed. You may notice that what once triggered you no longer has power, and so situations that felt impossible before now feel manageable. You may notice that what once seemed out of reach suddenly feels natural, because you have grown into it. The inner shift creates the outer opening. It is easy to overlook this and keep waiting for life to change without changing yourself. But when you understand the connection, you stop waiting passively. You begin to ask different questions. Not, when will it happen for me? But, who am I becoming in this moment? Not, why is nothing changing outside of me? But, what is changing inside of me right now? These questions open the door to transformation. They bring you into alignment with the truth that you are not powerless. You are shaping the very reality you are waiting for by the way you grow within yourself. And so, the inner journey must not be dismissed. It is the foundation of everything else. It is the soil from which your outer life will grow. If the soil is shallow, the growth will not last. But if the soil is deep, if you have faced your fears, embraced your strengths, surrendered your illusions, then when the new life arrives, it will not just visit, it will remain. The world outside of you is always a reflection of the world within you. If you seek change, look inward first. If you desire alignment, allow yourself to transform inwardly. And when that transformation takes root, you will not need to force the outer world to shift. It will shift naturally, because it cannot do otherwise in the presence of who you have become. The moment you awaken within, the moment you rise in awareness, is the same moment the outer world begins to arrange itself around you. There is something that often happens just before life finally shifts, just before everything begins to fall into place. It is a moment of pressure, a moment that feels heavier than all the moments before it. You may feel tested in ways you never expected, stretched to the edge of your endurance, confronted with doubts so strong they threaten to undo all the progress you have made. It is as if the universe is asking one final question: will you hold your ground, or will you turn back? And in that moment, everything feels magnified: the silence, the uncertainty, the weight of the waiting. Yet what seems like resistance is actually confirmation. It is proof that you are standing at the threshold of change. Think of it like the moments before dawn. The night seems darkest, the air feels stillest, and doubt whispers that perhaps the sun will not rise at all. But the darkness is not permanent. It is simply the final stretch before the light breaks. In the same way, the heaviness you feel right before alignment is not a sign that you are far from it. It is the signal that you are closer than ever. Life often tests your faith at the very point where breakthrough is near. This test is not meant to break you. It is meant to reveal you. It brings to the surface the strength you did not know you had, the resilience that was hidden beneath your doubt, the courage that only awakens when everything around you says to quit. And though it may feel unbearable, it is shaping you into the person who can step fully into what is waiting on the other side. Without that final test, you might walk into your new life unprepared. With it, you enter with strength, with clarity, with certainty that you belong there. So when the weight presses down, when everything feels as if it is about to collapse, you must not lose heart. That pressure is not a signal to stop. It is an invitation to rise. The very fact that you feel it so strongly means that you are standing right where you need to be. If you are far from alignment, there would be no resistance, no pressure, no final push. The presence of it means the new life is near, and life is asking if you are truly ready to receive it. There is a pattern to this. Before great openings, there is often great tension. Before clarity, confusion. Before alignment, resistance. It is not coincidence. It is the rhythm of transformation. To pass through it requires faith, not the kind of faith that demands proof in advance, but the kind that trusts even when everything looks uncertain. Faith that understands the storm is temporary. Faith that knows the darkest night is only moments away from light. Faith that whispers, even in silence, that all of this is working for something greater. This is why so many turn back right at the edge. The pressure convinces them that they are failing. The silence convinces them that nothing is coming. But those who endure discover the truth. They realize that the moment they were about to quit was the very moment they were about to receive. They understand that the weight was not meant to crush them, but to shape them. And they see that everything they endured brought them to the exact place where everything could finally fall into place. The key is not to fight the test, not to resist the pressure, but to meet it with steadiness, to breathe through it, to remind yourself that this is not the end, to hold to the awareness that what feels unbearable is temporary, and what it is building in you will remain forever. Because once you pass through it, you will not only step into alignment, you will step into it as someone transformed, someone who has faced the final test and discovered their own unshakable strength. It is often said that the breakthrough comes just after the moment you were about to give up. That is because life wants to know if you will still believe, still hold steady, even when there is no evidence yet, even when the silence is loud, even when the waiting feels endless. And when you do, when you choose to remain steady, the pressure begins to dissolve, the doors begin to open, and the alignment you have been waiting for finally arrives. So do not mistake the weight you feel now for defeat. It is not the end of your journey. It is the sign that you are standing at the threshold of everything you have been waiting for. And if you can hold steady just a little longer, you will see that the pressure you feel today was only the final step before everything falls into place.